is Focus with Jack Caudill.
Good evening, I'm Jack Caudill. Welcome to this month's edition of Focus. This month we are talking about the race for Pennington County Sheriff. The two candidates, the Republican candidates, are here with us to talk about that. Brian Mueller, he's been with the Pennington County Sheriff's Office since 1996. He's been the chief deputy there since 2011. And Ryan Mechaley, he has been with the South Dakota Highway Patrol for 15 years and is now in the private sector. A little background before we go on. For just the third time since 1983, Pennington County is going to have a new sheriff. Don Holloway took that job over in 1983, held that until Kevin Tome took over as sheriff in 2011. Tome is not running again, and that leaves us with Brian Mueller and Ryan Mechaley in the Republican primary on June 7th. Now, if no independents file, this will be the de facto race for sheriff in Pennington County. Independents have until late April to file for that. All right, we're going to get started here. We're going to start with Brian Mueller. You've been with the sheriff's office now for a long time. What makes you decide to run and move up to the office of sheriff?
Jack, I'm running for sheriff because I love Pennington County, and I'm proud to have worked the last 26 years serving our citizens here. And I believe in the work that we do at the Pennington County Sheriff's Office and the impact that we have on individuals in our community every day. Our staff are the best in the business, and they make me very excited to come to work every day, work alongside of the wonderful men and women that we have at the Sheriff's Office, making the positive changes that we're making in people's lives every day. I've been fortunate over 26 years to build a lot of great relationships in our community, in the different layers of collaboration that we have at the Pennington County Sheriff's Office and in western South Dakota, and I think that should be a model for others to follow in the country. I have relationships with other state, local, federal and tribal law enforcement agencies, collaboration through our entire criminal justice system here locally, collaboration at the county level with our elected officials and county department heads, collaboration with our public-private partners in the community, and collaboration with community members as a whole, either through my volunteerism or different activities my family and I do locally here. And I'm excited for the opportunity to run for sheriff. I know that there's challenges that we're facing here in the community, but I have the right relationships, the right experience to work on solutions for those challenges every day, and I greatly appreciate the community support that we have here.
Now, Ryan Mechaley had a long career as a trooper with the South Dakota Highway Patrol, then got out of that, looking to get back into law enforcement now. What makes you decide to get back in and run for sheriff here in Pennington County?
It was through encouragement of a lot of citizens, a lot of elected officials that encouraged me to do so. They felt like I was the right person, the person that they wanted to be their voice, to be the sheriff of our county. Pennington County is unique in that it's purely not one-dimensional. I want to take the politics out of policing, quite honestly, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity to lead an agency that's esteemed with a lot of tradition and great men and women that work for them.
You're talking about leadership. How do you look at your leadership, your management style, and what do you see as the role of the sheriff here in Pennington County?
The role of the sheriff of the county is that it's the only elected law enforcement officer of that county. The sheriff is representative of the people. He's not beholden to private business, to city councils, county commissions. He or she is that elected voice of the people. The role of the sheriff is to be that leader, that coach, and that mentor to the employees of the office, and quite honestly to the surrounding areas. Somebody that they can look up to.
How about management style? How do you see yourself leading the office?
I've been a leader my whole life, and I will continue to lead the way that I do, which is allow people the opportunity to succeed.
Brian, how do you look at management style and what you see as the role of the Pennington County Sheriff?
You know, my management style is a servant leader. I've had an opportunity to lead in many different capacities in the Sheriff's Office. Currently have oversight over our 430 staff and over 100 volunteers that we have at the office. And I find that servant leadership style fits well for what we do here, for what we do, the services that we provide at the Sheriff's Office, how we treat our employees, and also mentoring style. And the role of the sheriff is complex. There's many different statutory duties and responsibilities that fall on the sheriff, investigating all felonies, running the jail, handling death investigations. There's several different things that are statutorily required of the sheriff, but in Pennington County, we find we do things because they're the right thing to do, not just because they're statutorily required. We also have oversight over our juvenile services center and the care campus. So there's a lot of different duties and responsibilities that fall on the shoulders of the sheriff here.
Now, according to the Sheriff's Office annual report, over the last 3 years, murders in the county as a whole, that is not just the area that the sheriff is solely responsible for, but the county as a whole, went from 6 in 2019 to 15 in 2021. Sexual assaults dropped from 325 to 213, and aggravated assault went up from 431 to 584. So what's your approach to dealing with crime in the county, keeping those numbers down as low as possible?
Sure, and there's a lot of different factors that go into crime statistics. Some go up some years, some go down some years, but obviously we're facing an issue with drug-related violence here in our community. We're going to continue to make that a top priority and continue to work with our partners in the police department and other federal and state agencies to work on those major crimes.
How about you? What is your approach to crime?
It's a three-legged stool. You got to have the education, you got to have the training, you got to raise the awareness, you got to bring that to the people. Don't expect the people to come to it. You got to have the enforcement aspect of it. I found it quite astonishing that the largest sheriff's office in the state does not have a drug dog program. A drug dog offers an awesome deterrent. It's an excellent tool for little money to provide that extra level of security and comfort to our communities in our county. And then the example, collaboration, working with both drug prevention, drug treatment programs, to grow that, to expand it, to reach out to every citizen in our county, not just in a small geographical area.
To talk about drugs and especially meth, which is really expanded around this area, how do you draw that line? How do you draw that balance between punishment, enforcement, and education, prevention, and rehabilitation? How do you balance all of that?
Well, education is the key. You know, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, as they say. Whatever we can do, go out into our schools, into our groups, into our civics organizations, to educate people. Number one, what to look for. Number two, how to report it. Number three, what you can do to plant that seed, to make it grow, to make that tree stand tall of not abusing drugs. But at the end of the day, it's an individual choice, and I think that is an important role of law enforcement, is to enforce that. Regardless of what your personal opinions may be, you have to respect and enforce the laws that are on the books.
How do you see that balance with enforcement and punishment and rehabilitation, prevention?
Right. You know, drug enforcement is a three-legged stool. And on the enforcement end, we're hitting it hard here in Pennington County. We put our extra resources and dollars into our Unified Drug Narcotics Task Force, and they're cutting the head off the snake. They are actively pursuing cartel-level drug traffickers, throughout the country that are bringing drugs right here to Pennington County, and they're doing amazing work. And also through our patrol resources that are arresting drug offenders, drug traffickers at a very, very high rate, record rates the last couple of years. And the other two legs of the stool are treatment and education and prevention. And on the treatment end, we're very unique here in Pennington County in that we oversee the care campus that provides a majority of the treatment in Pennington County. And I'll continue as a sheriff to keep that pipeline open for people in our community that want help, that need help to get that treatment. And also continue to work with our other community partners on prevention and education, which is the key to turning this around for us in the future.
What kind of challenges do you see as marijuana laws now quickly changing here in the state?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, everybody's still trying to get their legs underneath of them with the medical marijuana being legalized, and there's a lot of work being done on that front that we all see and that we're aware of. And then it looks like recreational marijuana will be on the ballot this fall, so we'll see what that comes of that.
How do you see the challenges facing the sheriff's office as medical becomes legal, recreational maybe?
Yeah. Again, that's the opportunity that we have in elections, is to vote. I think it's, me personally, I'm not a fan of marijuana, but at the end of the day, I will have to respect and honor the will of the voter, and that's what I will do.
All right, we've got to take a quick break. We'll continue our look at the Pennington County race for sheriff when we come back with this month's edition of Focus. I'm Jack Caudill. Welcome back to this month's edition of Focus, looking ahead to the June 7th Republican primary for Pennington County Sheriff, which, unless some independents file, that will be the election for sheriff here. Ryan Mechaley is a former South Dakota Highway Patrol trooper in the sheriff's race. Ryan, racial tensions have ebbed and flowed in this area over the years. Right now, they seem to be kind of at a high point from a law enforcement perspective. How do you deal with that? How do you try to bring those down? And how do you try to make everybody feel like they are being treated equally?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, the comments made by a very small group is absolutely despicable. There's been a lot of effort, a lot of time put into bridging racial tensions. However, the same people that are going to improve racial relations for the last 30 years continue to try to do the same things over and over. The reality is we need new people, new ears. We need new people sitting at the table and actually discussing the root cause of these issues and working innovatively to find solutions. It's not one-dimensional. There's many things going on that are causing that.
Brian Mueller has been with the Pennington County Sheriff's Office since 1996, Chief Deputy since 2011. As you look at it, how do you deal with those up and downs of racial tensions here in the area, and how do you make everybody feel like they're welcome?
Yeah, Jack. I had a front row seat to what happened last week in our community. Was able to sit down with tribal leaders in our own community, talk through the issues. I was proud to stand next to them to denounce the actions of a few people in our community and recognize the issues that's created. I'm also involved in several things that I think will help keep us build a solid foundation to move forward on this. And some of those things are related to law enforcement, local law enforcement reaching out to our tribal leaders, developing relationships with tribal leaders and tribal law enforcement over the last couple of years. We've making really good progress with those meetings. We're providing cultural training to law enforcement at the police department and the sheriff's office on a regular basis. We're bringing programs, Native American cultural programs, into our facilities. We have really good relationships with the people that are delivering those services. I'm involved in a group called the MOA, the Minaluzahon Ambassadors, and they've done a good job over the last couple of years of bringing people together, having difficult conversations, building relationships, and forming trust to move forward. And I think we relied on a lot of those things, those positive things that are happening in our community when the event happened last week, to reach out, talk through that, and find a platform to move forward together. And we have a long ways to go, but I feel confident that if we continue down the path that we're doing now, building the relationships, that we can make things better for future generations.
You look at some of the incidents that have happened around the country. The George Floyd incident, probably the most prominent, has changed the way a lot of people look at law enforcement. How do you earn the trust of those people back? And how is that atmosphere of trust here as you see it in this area?
You know, we're very fortunate here in Pennington County to have great trust and community support. And we don't take that for granted. We work hard at it every day by hiring good people, training them properly, having high expectations, and those people delivering very high quality services here. We have great transparency. When something goes wrong and we make a mistake, we admit that, and our community appreciates that. We also have good working relationships with our media, which a lot of places in the country do not have good relationships with their media. They're willing to come to events that we have, cover the positive things that are going on in the community, and help us get our messages out. And I think all of those things together just really lead to a good support network and trust in our community, and I really appreciate being part of that.
Ryan, how do you approach that? How do you bring people that may have different views now, how do you bring them back to where they do trust law enforcement again?
Again, we are fortunate. We have tremendous support for our law enforcement, for our fire, for our EMS. But what we're losing some trust in is leadership at our agencies. People are scared. People are worried about crime in our county. And again, the biggest part of that is having, if you don't feel safer as you did today, as you did 3, 4, 5 years ago, the choice is clear that there needs to be a change, and a different set of eyes, a different set of optics, growing budgets, and getting 2.5 times the crime rate in comparison to our counterparts in Minnehaha County is not the answer.
Now, talking about budgets, always a big deal when you talk about government agencies. The Pennington County Sheriff budget, more than $37 million, and obviously you want to use that as efficiently as you can. What is the most efficient way to do that, and is that being used in its most efficient way right now?
Well, I can tell you, trying to get the transparency levels increased so you can actually look at the budgets is one thing. You know, when you go to the website, there's a lot of numbers there, but it doesn't tell you what those line items are. My plan is to go line item by line item, looking for efficiencies. I do know that as a taxpayer in Pennington County, you're spending for the patrol division of the sheriff's office, little over $11 million budget. You're spending $95.73 per person per taxpayer of your hard-earned money, versus our counterparts in Minnehaha County that are spending $36 a person. So that's a big gap there to fill.
So what do you change in that?
Well, the number one is looking for those efficiencies. Where can we make those improvements? Going line by line and establishing expectations of, not as a small business owner, I can tell I understand the importance of the tax dollar, but as a small business owner, I understand the value of a penny. I have to make my business work. I can't go in front of a commission and ask for more taxpayer money if my business needs more. So that's a different approach that I'll bring.
Now, Brian Mueller, you've been involved with the budget process for quite a while down at the Pennington County Sheriff's Office. Is that money being used as efficiently as it can right now?
Absolutely. And I've been very involved in the budgets of the Sheriff's Office for about the last 14 years. Don Holloway built us a very solid foundation and innovative ways for us to create revenue to offset taxpayer dollars. Kevin Tome and his administration, and I've been a big part of that, have continued to look for ways to expand those revenues that we create to save taxpayer dollars. We collect about 48% of our overall budget in outside revenues that offset taxpayer dollars to the tune of $17 to $18 million a year. And Ryan compares us to Minnehaha County, but the Pennington County Sheriff's Office is not a small business. And when the numbers that he's using to compare to Minnehaha County are not accurate, that's only the law enforcement expense. When you look, you need to look at the expense and the revenues together to see what tax support goes into our budgets. And when you compare apples to apples in Minnehaha and Pennington County, the jail and the law enforcement division are the two divisions that we have that are equal. Pennington County provides the level of services that we do out here for about $4 million less a year for taxpayers than what Minnehaha does. Our county is close to 2,800 square miles, and our unincorporated areas of the county is much larger.
What's the biggest challenge to making all that go within that budget?
You know, a majority of our budget is staff. And, you know, we work hard on creating efficiencies, but at the end of the day, with the growth that we're experiencing here in Pennington County, now is not the time to be cutting staff. So continuing to work together to look for efficiencies, and like I said before, continuing to find new and creative ways to create revenues to offset the growth when it needs to happen is key to the future of Pennington County.
Ryan, as you see it, what's the biggest challenge in making everything go in that $37 million?
It's using that taxpayer money very, very wisely. You know, the value of the dollar is the value of the dollar, and again, the value of the penny is the value of the penny. But at the end of the day, when you're spending more than what a person needs to, that's overspending in the government, and the government's famous for that. I'm going to bring a different set of eyes, a true business approach, owning my own businesses to that.
All right, we've got to take another break. We'll continue our look at the race for Pennington County Sheriff when we come back with this month's edition of Focus. I'm Jack Caudill. Welcome back to this month's edition of Focus, looking ahead to the June 7th primary for Pennington County Sheriff. Brian Mueller is with us, one of those two candidates. What vision do you have for the future of the Sheriff's Office, and what kind of changes would you like to see if you win this race?
Well, Jack, if I'm elected sheriff, the citizens can expect the same high-quality level of service that they get today from the Pennington County Sheriff's Office moving forward. And I'll continue to look for more efficient and effective ways to do business, keeping the taxpayers in mind. And I had somebody ask me last week if I get elected if I'm going to keep things status quo or make some changes, and had to laugh to myself, because I think that anybody that's associated with our office knows that we're constantly evolving, constantly changing, constantly improving processes, and that there is no status quo.
Ryan Mechaley, former South Dakota Highway Patrol trooper. Ryan, what vision do you have for the future of the Sheriff's Office, and what kind of changes would you like if you get into the office?
When I'm elected, I'm going to bring a fresh set of eyes, a new approach. More importantly, I'm going to bring leadership that supports our officers, that demands that our officers get that support that they need and deserve. I'm going to bring an awareness level to our drug problem. I'm going to attack the problem. I'm not going to continue to kick the can down the road. I'm not going to continue to do the same things over and over again and expect a different outcome.
What's the biggest challenge facing the sheriff's office today?
The biggest challenge is just like any other industry. I'm trying to hire employees. It's recruiting and hiring and retaining employees. We've seen in the news as late as December we have a 32% turnover at the jail. That's an astronomical. And my experience is people don't leave jobs; they leave leadership.
And Brian, what do you see as the biggest challenge facing the sheriff's office today?
Well, the biggest challenge that we're facing today, I feel, is our drug-related violence in our community. We're going to continue to work hard on solutions related to that in our community, and also maintaining the staffing is an issue. We've made great progress on that over the last 6 months. The commission has let us be nimble in what we're doing with our hiring practices, and we're continuing to make progress on that.
Is that pandemic related, or is that just industry-wide these days?
Pandemic related specifically. In corrections nationwide, there's a little bit of a higher turnover rate, and we always stay underneath that national average for corrections, but the pandemic did have a big impact on us and majority of the business here locally and throughout the state.
All right, just got a couple minutes left to go. Give you guys each about a minute. Why should people vote for you come June 7th?
I think three main things that separate me from my opponent: community, experience, and solutions. Community safety is my #1 priority, and I'm going to continue to look for ways to get involved in the community that make a difference, both in my personal life and my professional life. I have 26 years of experience here at the Pennington County Sheriff's Office. I have experience in operations in all 4 divisions, experience with our budgets, and I'm going to continue to use those experiences to find solutions to issues in our community.
All right, Ryan, you got about a minute or so. Why vote for you on June 7th?
Well, I think the simplest question people need to ask themselves is, do you feel safer today than you did 3, 4, 5, 2 years ago? If the answer is no, I think the choice is very clear. I've got the experience, I've got the leadership, I've got the knowledge, I've got the skills, and I've got the abilities to lead this agency into the new troubling times that we're having and get us out of them. More importantly, I've got different exposure. I haven't been at the same office for 26 years. I had the courage to go out and start my own private business and been very successful at it, and I look forward to earning people's votes on June 7th.
Regardless of who people vote for, how important is it for people to get out and vote on that primary?
It is hugely important. That's the only way that people say they want change all the time. Well, the only way we get change is to vote for it. And it's the only chance that you get to have that face-to-face conversation with your elected officials.
And how about you? How important is it for everybody to get out, vote, whether it's for you or whether it's for Ryan, to get out there and vote, whether vote early, vote on election day?
Absolutely. People need to go enjoy their rights. Get out and vote. Early voting starts in April. The primary is on June 7th. I encourage everybody to get out and vote.
All right. Ryan Mechaley, Brian Mueller, thank both of you for coming up and joining us, and good luck in the election. And
Thanks,
we'll
Jack.
see who wins that one on June 7th. That'll
Thank
do
you.
it for us. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again the first Sunday night of next month. Good night.